Hi, I'm Chi, and this is Amir, and welcome to our series called Values-Driven Discipleship. This year we launched the vision of our church, and that is to build disciples who represent Jesus to everyone, everywhere, with everything.
In Matthew 28, before Jesus left, he gave you and I a call to be a disciple and a mission of making disciples. Verse 18, Jesus says, "I have been given all authority in heaven and on earth. Therefore go and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Teach these new disciples to obey all the commands I've given you. And be sure of this, I am with you always, even to the end of the age." You know what, if I could use maybe just one word to describe what this means, it's change. We're called to be changed and to be part of God's work of change in the lives of other people.
And when we look at our lives, we know there are so many areas in our life that we want to see change. Change for the better. To change from greed to generosity. To change from bitterness to forgiveness. To see change in our attitude to money. To see change in the way we relate to our spouse and family. And for us as a disciple, that change is to become more like Jesus. And discipleship is taking people on this journey of change so that Jesus can live his life in us and through us to our everyone, our everywhere, and through our everything.
We all recognize a desire to be like Jesus, but sometimes we just don't know how. Often we attempt to make disciples through what I call behavior-driven discipleship. We tell people to change their behaviors. Come and read more, to pray more, to join a life group, come to church, to serve or to give. All these things we need, and all these things have impacted our lives. But sometimes our behavior can be changed on the outside. But I wonder if our hearts have become more like Jesus on the inside. Do we claim Christ on Sunday but lose on Monday? Do we experience Jesus living in us and through us in all areas of our life from Monday all the way through to Sunday?
In Mark chapter 7, 20 to 23, Jesus spoke about this. He spoke about the need to change the heart to the religious leaders of his day. They had all the outsides right, but not the insides. And this is what he said: "What comes out of a person is what defiles them. For it is from within, out of a person's heart, that evil thoughts come: sexual immorality, theft, murder, adultery, greed, malice, deceit, lewdness, envy, slander, arrogance, and folly. And all these evils come from inside and defile a person."
That's the challenge. We don't know how or even where to start in making disciples. And this can hinder us from the confidence of knowing how to be a disciple and how to disciple others. In this series, we want to give people a way to start their journey, whether you're new in your relationship with Jesus or you've been walking with him for many years. It's what we call value-driven discipleship.
Oftentimes we ask the question, how do we make disciples? And we will go through behaviors. This is what we do to make disciples. But what we're going to talk about is how our values drive our disciple-making lifestyle. If I value cars, I'll buy a great car. If I value excellence, I will work hard and do quality work, even if we're not paid for it. In fact, our behavior always lines up with our values. And in the same way, there are values that drive a disciple-making lifestyle.
And we're going to explore 5 values that drive the way Jesus made disciples. It was reflected in how he disciples and how he empowered his disciples to make disciples. And we've captured it in a way that makes it easy for you to remember. Grace. G, groups and gatherings. We value groups and gatherings because Jesus is experienced and revealed more when we're together than alone. R, reproducibility. We value reproducibility because healthy disciples reproduce disciples.
And A, actively hearing and obeying. We value actively hearing and obeying because through hearing and obeying the living word, we work with God to see change in us and others. C, connecting. We value connecting because Jesus connected with God and those near and far from God. And lastly, E, everyday moments. We value everyday moments because the Holy Spirit uses everyday moments to shape us to become more like Jesus. So come journey with us over the next 6 weeks, and we're going to explore these values and how they drive our discipleship and how we can be part of God's work in making disciples. A disciple who represents Jesus to everyone, everywhere, with everything.